Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, today we are going to discuss further on the electric heating. In the last lecture, which is lecture number 25, we have discussed the requirement of the electric heating. What are the advantages of the electric heating over the conventional heating? And what are the advantages and the silent features of the electric heating as compared to the conventional heating. After this, we have discussed about the different modes of transfer of heat, uh, which includes the conduction, convection, and radiation. All this is about the last lecture, but today we are going to discuss further on the electric heating. Specifically, we are going to discuss the essential requirements of good heating element, and what are the issues related to the heating element. Okay, let's start from the essential requirements of good heating element. The material used for heating element should have following properties. The first one is the high specific resistance. The heating element or material should have high specific resistance so that a small length of wire may be required to give given amount of heat. It simply means that the element which we are going to use as a heating element should have very high resistivity, because if the resistivity is high, then a small amount of current will produce more loss. I square R loss. Simply it means that it will produce more heat. So the high specific resistance material is required for the heating element. So the next characteristic is the high melting point. The heating element should have high melting point so that it can withstand for high temperature. A small increase in temperature will destroy the element. So it simply means that the heating element should have high melting point. Definitely, if the resistivity is high, loss is much more. Simply mean that the heat is much high. It doesn't mean that at high temperature, at high heat, the melting element itself gets melt. So the material should have high melting point. So the next feature of the heating element is that it should have low temperature coefficient of resistance. It simply means that the element should possesses low temperature coefficient of resistance so that resistance may not vary with the change in temperature, because we already know that there are some elements wherein when the temperature gets high, their resistivity gets low, and there are some materials when the temperature go high, their resistivity also go high. So we require such an element which have low temperature coefficient of resistance so that with the change in temperature their resistance may not vary. Okay, the further description is related to the equation 4.1, which we have discussed in the last lecture. The radiant heat is proportional to the fourth power of the temperature. It is efficient heating at high temperature. For accurate temperature control, the variation of resistance with the operating temperature should be very low. This can be obtained only if the material has low temperature coefficient of resistance. So the next characteristic is that it should be free from oxidation. The element material should not be oxidized when it is subjected to high temperature. Otherwise, the formation of oxidized layers will shorten its life. So there should not be oxidization on the surface of the heating element. Otherwise, the efficiency will suffer and the life of the heating element gets short. The next characteristic is that it should have high mechanical strength. The material should have high mechanical strength and should withstand for mechanical vibration, because normally we are going to use the electric heating at industrial level, and at industrial level we are going to melt the charge, melt the other material, so definitely there will be some mechanical vibrations are there. So it is better that the heating element does not affect on mechanical vibrations. The next characteristic is that it should be non-corrosive. The element should not corrode when exposed to temperature or any other chemical fumes, because if corrosion occur on the heating element, its life gets shorter. The next characteristic is that it should be economical. The cost of material should not be so high that it is unbearable. It is very difficult to buy and use. So these are few characteristics of the heating element. Uh, Try to understand all this. Okay. The next topic is about the material of heating element. That what type of material we should use for heating element. The selection of a material for heating element is depending upon the service conditions, such as maximum operating temperature and the amount of charge to be heated, but no single element will not satisfy all the requirements of the heating element. So definitely, if there is not single element, then we have to merge few other elements and make an alloy, so that we can get our requirement, because in every field we have to do some compromises. So that's why here also we didn't get a single element, single heating element, which is make up of only one material and fulfill overall requirements. So it is better to combine two or more elements so that we can get the maximum temperature. It should be free from oxidation. It should have all the properties which we have discussed in the previous topic. The material normally used as heating elements are either alloys of nickel chromium. So here nickel is one material and chromium is another material. So we combine both of these and make an alloy. The next one is the nickel chromium iron. Another combination is that nickel chromium aluminium, and another combination is that nickel and copper. Nickel chromium iron alloy is cheaper when compared to simple nickel chromium alloy. Why it is cheaper? The reason is that the use of iron in the alloy reduces the cost of final product but reduces the life of the alloy. So we are going to compromise on which thing? Either we have to do the compromise on the cost, or either we have to do the compromise on the life, as it gets oxidized soon. We have different types of alloys for heating element. Table 4.1 shows all of these. So from the table we have observed that these are the different combination of the alloys. This is their composition level and what is their commercial name when we are going to buy it from the market, and what is the maximum operating temperature range. If our maximum temperature is about 1200, then the nickel chromium aluminium is the best. If our temperature is maximum 400 degrees Celsius, then this combination is best. And similarly, if it is 950, then this one, and if it is this one, then nickel chromium combination is the best. So Whenever we are going to buy any heating element from the market, we have to first check how much we want to create a heat, how much we want to generate a temperature. With respect to that, we have to select the material, and definitely upon selection of the material there may be some issues, and we have to do some compromises with respect to life, with respect to oxidation, with respect to cost, and with respect to any other thing. The properties of some commercial heating element materials commonly employed for low and medium temperatures up to 1200 degrees Celsius, and nickel chromium and an alloy of nickel chromium iron. Composition of these alloys are given in table as I showed previously. For operating temperature above 1200 degrees Celsius, the heating element should be made up of silicon carbide, molybdenum, tungsten, and graphite. Nickel chromium alloy is frequently used for heating element operating at low temperature. Its most important property is that it has virtually zero resistance and temperature coefficient. So this topic is related to the materials for heating element. So the next topic is that the causes of failure of heating element. That what are the causes wherein the heating element may fails? Though there are few reasons which include the formation of hot spots, oxidation of the element, and intermittency of operation, embrittlement caused by grain growth, and the last one is the contamination and corrosion. So step by step we will discuss all these four in today's lecture. The first one is the formation of hot spots. And what are the hot spots? Hot spots are the points on the heating element generally at high temperature than the main body. For example, mine heating element is, for example, 1 foot long. Okay, and in this 1 foot long, there are few points wherein the temperature is higher as compared to the remaining part of the heating element. It might be possible, we can see it. So we can say that the high temperature points are the hot spots. The main reason of the formation of hot spot in the heating element are the high rate of local oxidation causing reduction in the area of cross section of the element, leading to the increase in the resistance of that spot. So here he is going to give the reason of the formation of hot spot. How the hot spots are formed? It is due to the formation of local oxidation. It is due to the formation of local oxidation. What this local oxidation will do with the heating element? It reduces the area of cross section of the element, leading to the increase in the resistance of that spot. So local oxidation will increase the resistance of that spot. So whenever the current is going from the heating element and there is a small portion where the resistance is much higher as compared to the remaining part of the heating element, that portion will get more loss, more heat loss. Sometimes it is visible in the form of yellow or in the form of orange color. So it simply means that that portion of the heating element is more heated as compared to the remaining part, and it is due to the formation of local oxidation, and local oxidation increases the resistance of that particular part. It gives rise to the damage of the heating element due to the generation of more heat at spots. Another reason is the shielding of element by supports. As we have discussed before, that the heating element is made up of combination of more than two materials, more than one material. So whenever there is a combination of more than one material, then it simply means that there is a shielding of element by supports. Now, which reduces the local heat loss by radiation. Okay, every material has its own characteristics. Some material can easily dissipate the heat to the outer environment, but some materials try to retain the heat within themselves, and hence the temperature of the shielded portion of the element will increase, so that the minimum number of supports should be used without producing the distortion of the element. So our requirement is that in order to avoid the hot spot, there should be minimum number of supports. The sagging and wrapping of the material arise due to insufficient support for the element, or selection of wrong fuse material may lead to the uneven spacing of section, thereby developing the hot spots on the element. So in the formation of hot spot, the first reason is due to local oxidation, and the second reason of the production of hot spot is the shielding of the element by supports. Shielding of the elements by support. So because of the reason of these two, the formation of hot spots has been done. The next one is the oxidation and intermittency of operation. A continuous oxide layer is formed on the surface of the element at high temperature. Such layer is so strong that it prevents further oxidation of the inner metal of the element. Definitely, every heat element is made up of some particular material. It may be nickel, it may be iron, it may be chromium, it may be any other material. So, every material can react with the atmosphere around the material, or it may react with the air, and in response to it, it forms the oxide O2 layer on its own surface. So if the element is used quite often, the oxide layer is subjected to thermal stresses, and thus the layer cracks and flakes off, thereby exposing fresh metal to oxidation. Thus the local oxidation of the metal increases, producing the hot spots. The next reason is the embrittlement causing grain growth. In general, most of the alloys containing iron tend to form large brittle grains at high temperature. So grains are easily visible on the heating element. It is just like a small grain at different parts of the heating element. And whenever the current is passed through the material, pass through the heating element, it gets heated, but the grains are more brighter and easily visible as compared to the other part of the heating element. When cooled, the elements are very brittle and liable to rupture easily on the slightest handling and jerks. So the formation of the grains on the heating element also distort or destroy the heating element. The last reason is the contamination and corrosion. The heating element may be subjected to dry corrosion produced by their contamination with the gases of the controlled atmosphere prevailing in annealing furnaces. The heating element gets corroded whenever it is exposed with the atmosphere. Either the atmosphere within the furnace, or either it is the outer portion. So these are the basic reasons of the distortion of the heating element. So dear students, in today's lecture we have discussed majorly about the heating element. Initially we have discussed what are the characteristics of the heating element should have. After this, we have discussed about the materials which is used for the formation of heating element, wherein it has been concluded that only one heating element is not enough to fulfill all our requirements. So it is better to combine more than one element in order to get the maximum efficiency of the heating element. After this, we have discussed that what are the major causes of failure of heating element. So for today, it is enough. And if you feel any confusion in today's lecture, or if you want to discuss something about today's lecture, you can discuss with me on your WhatsApp group, or you can discuss is during the discussion section, which is to be occurred during the official lecture hours. So for today, it is enough, and thank you very much for today.